today's show, I wanted to share a bit about being able to control what we can and what we're focusing on. And the reason for this is that right now, we're all experiencing challenges at different levels. Now, it could be simply there's a lot of change going on around us. So, for example, we have the global pandemic right now, okay? And it's impacting people in so many different ways. There's also Brexit, for those of you based in the UK. There's the economy that's being impacted by Brexit, by the pandemic. So there's a lot going on right now that's impacting us in a negative way. You'll also find if you're on the job market that it's becoming even more competitive. The job market is saturated because a lot of people have lost their jobs. There's people who are at risk of losing their jobs. So people are actively looking in the job market for their next move. There's also, of course, the new normal, as we call it. And that means lots more people are working from home, they're homeschooling, they have additional responsibilities and challenges that they wouldn't have had in the past. And now it's a year on since we've had the global pandemic has started. And for a lot of people, it's taking its toll, it's stressful, and it's still taking getting used to. There comes with that the challenges of stress, of mental health issues, of simply feeling out of control. And what does that mean? It means that we're putting more pressure on ourselves potentially because of how we're feeling in that moment, because of everything we're trying to juggle, spinning so many plates, trying to make everything work as effectively as we can. And it is difficult. And this leads to frustration. It leads to maybe a lack of connection, whether that's with people around you or with yourself, because you're so stressed and so challenged with everything that's happening. And more importantly, right now, we are looking for connection. And that is something I know we spoke about last week, and I will cover again in future episodes. Today, however, what I wanted to focus on is inviting you actually to focus on what you can control. In other words, when it comes to your career, your job, your business, what can you influence? So let me know if you've got any questions on that or any thoughts or comments around how you can influence your current situation, given all of the challenges that we're facing at the moment. Let's see, Brad, what are you saying? No snow, but still very, very cold. Have you been on your walk this morning, Brad? Nicholas, hi, Nicholas. How are you? Welcome. And you're in, I'm assuming that's South Africa. So confirm, let me know if I'm right. Great to have you here. Let me know how you're doing today and if you've got any questions and if this is useful for you today. So what I wanted to share with you, as I said, is what we can do to create more focus on what it is we want, to control what we can, and to therefore influence what we can. And so if you stop to consider, when it comes to your career, when it comes to your work situation, ask yourself, what is your biggest challenge right now? Now, it could be, for example, that just feeling stuck. Maybe you're on that hamster wheel, just going round and round, not able to jump off, but you feel like you're going nowhere. And so it results in you feeling completely stuck. Or maybe you're looking to move up a level and to advance your career. Maybe get a promotion or move company. Perhaps you have been made redundant and you're out of work. You're in the job market and you're looking for the next great opportunity. And it might simply be you're looking to pivot and to try something new. So what is it for you? Let me know in the comments what is going on for you right now when it comes to your job, your career, your situation in the workplace, and obviously remote working. What is the biggest challenge for you? Share it in the comments and so I can answer any questions or address that today. And what I'd like you to do is think about, when it comes to that challenge that you've got right now, what is it that you can change? What is it that you can change regarding that situation? What is within your own control, or what can you influence? Let me know if this is something useful for you, if you have any questions and any comments on what we're talking about today. And if you've just joined, let me know where you're watching from today, and welcome to the My Brand TV. And so what I would like to share with you is what you can do, some points for you to consider if right now you are facing challenges when it comes to your job, your career, and the workplace environment. And obviously the fact that many of you are probably working remotely right now. And as I said, there's a lot of challenges that are impacting all of us in different ways right now. The biggest thing, of course, being the pandemic. So what are some of the things that you can focus on that can help to have you feeling more control over what's going on and being able to influence your situation? So number one is ask yourself this: where do you want to be in the next 6, 12 months, or even 2 years? So people work on different timelines. So some people prefer to just look at the next 6 months. People prefer to look at 2 years. So whatever it might be for you, where do you want to be in terms of your career, your job, over the next 6, 12, or 18, 24 months? What does that look like? Now, I know we have no certainty right now and what things will look like during this timeline, what more is going to change, what the new norm is really going to be like, let's say in 6 to 12 months time. But given everything that's going on right now, taking all of that into account, where would you like to be in the next 6, 12, 18, 24 months time? And by all means, share in the comments and let me know what's going on for you right now. That's the first thing. And then as part of that, think about, okay, if this is where I want to be in, let's say, 12 months time, what needs to happen for you to get there? What needs to change? What do you need to do differently? Because I'm guessing an aspect of where you want to be is reliant on other people, maybe your organization, the current situations and challenges we've got in the world. So all of those things are things that are outside of your control. But actually, what needs to happen for you to get there that you can influence? And then what needs to change? These are really powerful questions. So I'd invite you to write them down and take time to consider these after the show, later on, maybe this evening when you've got a few minutes to think about this in more depth. And really, this is what we're looking at today, is how can you take control of your current situation in the best way possible and influence that to enable you to get to where you want to be over the next 6 to 12 months or a couple of years' time when it comes to your career and your current job. Let me know if this is helpful, guys. Drop a comment in, ask me any questions, and also let me know, where do you want to be in 6 or 12 months' time? And what needs to happen for you to get there? Based on the factors that you can't control, what needs to happen, what needs to change, and then what of that can you actually influence, where you can create some amount of certainty? And then the next thing I would like you to consider is this: your mindset. So are you someone who has a growth mindset or a fixed mindset? There's a great book on this by, I think it's Carol Dweck, where she goes into a lot of detail around the two and how you can develop towards having, or developing rather, a bigger growth mindset. And if you've already got one, how you can develop that even more. So it's a great book if you want to check that out. And a way to kind of do a self-assessment of this and think to yourself, well, do I have a growth mindset or a fixed mindset, is to think about, how do you look at things? How do you look at situations? Do you see situations initially as a problem or an opportunity? What is your perspective on that? Do you only see the problem? Some people see the problem first, but then they can turn it into an opportunity. Having the opportunity perspective is the growth mindset. It's always looking for, what can I do better? What can I change? What can I improve? And be open to possibilities and opportunities. Let me know if that's something you do, or if that's something you're always constantly maybe developing and working on. And what I'd invite you to do here when it comes to your mindset is to start becoming more self-aware. What you want to be doing is developing a heightened sense of self-awareness. And what I mean by that is focusing more on your actions, your thoughts, your emotions. And what happens, ultimately we get what we focus on. Okay, so the more we focus on negative things, the more of that we will see, we will feel, we will experience. If you focus on the positives, on the opportunities, we will attract naturally more of those. We'll see more of them. And that's where the growth mindset comes in. So for this second point, what I invite you to do is to start almost a bit of a self-assessment of understanding, first of all, where your mindset is at and what you can do to develop that even more. So you become more open to the opportunities, to the good things that are going on. And a great way also of doing this, if you are struggling right now, if you have a lot of challenges, perhaps as a consequence of the pandemic that you're having to deal with and you're feeling very stressed, is take the time each day, perhaps in the evening, just before you go to bed, to write down what you are grateful for. Just pick 1, 2, or 3 things, doesn't have to be a great long list, and write them down. Because by focusing on the things that we're grateful for, the good things, the positive things, we will naturally attract more of that into our life. We will start to see more of the things that we're grateful for and appreciate more. And that will, in turn, positively impact our emotional state, the way that we're feeling, and also the way that we're then showing up and responding to situations and the experiences that we have. Let me know if this is making sense, if you have any questions, and if it is useful for you. And also, please share and let me know what challenges you might be facing right now when it comes to your job and your career when you're in the workplace. So the third thing I'd like to share with you is having a look at your presence, the impact that you have when you're showing up in the workplace professionally. And obviously a lot of that now is online. So bring that into your awareness. What is going on? Are you making an effort when you show up on camera? Are you still dressing professionally? Are you making an impact in the way that you speak, in the way that you have that gravitas? So a few simple tips here I think I've mentioned this before actually in a previous show, but something to remember, because we have our camera here and we're looking at other people, is when you are speaking is to look at the camera, because the feeling that I mentioned earlier, the feelings that people experience is a whole different experience if you're looking at the camera when you're speaking to them, because now they feel that you're really talking to them in the same way that I'm doing right now. I'm looking at my camera, I'm speaking directly to you rather than looking at my screen. If I look at my screen now, do you notice the difference? Now I'm looking at the picture of me and the comments rather than the camera, but I'm now not as connected with you. Does that make sense? So think about that. Also, your posture, remember to smile and, engaging with people. And the next point I'd like to share with you, number 4, is about communication. And thinking again about the fact that we're all online at the moment, or the majority of us are working online, and you're speaking or you're presenting behind a camera. So tell me, how many of you do that? How many of you have to present at the moment online, using Zoom, using Teams? And it's a very different experience to when you're stood in a room in front of your colleagues or clients, or perhaps when you're sitting at a desk in a boardroom and you're maybe sharing information within a meeting. It's a very different experience. So when it comes to your communication, how are you ensuring that you're keeping your audience fully engaged, as opposed to them maybe scrolling on their phone or checking their email or simply being distracted because they're not fully engaged with you? What can you do to influence that? You can ensure that you are present with your audience. In other words, you are focused on them. You are giving them the connection by looking at your camera so they feel more connected with you. And you vary your tonality. You're checking in to make sure they're still with you in the same way that I am, to ask questions maybe, to keep that engagement going. If you're simply talking at the laptop, you're very quickly going to have people distracting, zoning out, and finding something else to do. You may even want to ask them to write things down, to take a few notes, and maybe point out a few things that you're sharing that you want them to write down, because again, that keeps people more engaged. It's a lot harder to stay engaged on online meetings and presentations, as I'm sure you've all experienced for yourself. So think about what you can do to make it more engaging. So you guys are very quiet today. Tell me, is this useful for you? how are you going to implement this to help to be more engaging, to have more presence, to grow your mindset even more? Tell me what actions you're going to take, and if what I'm sharing today is helpful for you. And also share with me, what are your biggest challenges right now when it comes to your job and your career? Remote working, of course, that's one of the biggest challenges for a lot of people. But what else is going on for you right now? And what does that mean for you in terms of the next 6 to 12 months? Where would you like to be, taking into account our new normal? And what aspects of that can you change yourself? What steps can you take that are in your control? Because remember, as I said earlier, one of the biggest things that people focus on is the things that are outside of their control. So, for example, the pandemic, the economy, the job market, your other people like your manager, your colleagues, your organization. So those are all things that are outside of our control. What I'm inviting you to do today is look at control what you can. In other words, what can you influence that's within your control? And these are the things I'm sharing with you. You can start to think about when it comes to the changes that you maybe want to experience when it comes to your career. So Brad, let's see, what are you sharing? So let me see. Engaging with people is key to me. Sharing, talking to your connections, coaches, and it keeps you aware of what is around you that you might not see, which will enrich you and your next steps. That is awesome, Brad. Thank you for sharing that. And engaging with people, as you know, is one of my big things. It's always keeping those relationships nurtured, reaching out to people, sharing, as you say, talking to your connections and coaches, and yeah, keeping you aware of what's happening. Because as I said, your experience of the pandemic could be very different to other people's. It could be worse, it could be better. So being aware of what other people are going through and being supportive, showing compassion, reaching out to them, simply connecting with them can make all the difference to somebody's day. And it's a great way to keep nurturing those connections. So Brad, thank you very much for sharing, because this is so on point. And yes, of course, it will enrich you and enable you to think about your next steps. And I've always found this too. It's great to just almost brainstorm with other people, to run things past other people that you trust, that you have a good relationship with, because you get a different perspective. They might just make a simple comment or statement or ask you a question that you hadn't considered before. And it could make all the difference to what action you're going to take. So really think about reaching out to people, connecting, staying in touch, and sharing what's going on for you. Thank you, Brad. And so for those of you who have just joined, welcome My Brand TV. Today we are talking about controlling what you can and influencing what you can to create the changes that you want when it comes to your career. But what could those changes be? It might be that you're feeling stuck in the hamster wheel, just going round and round, but you're not progressing, you're not moving forward. It might be that you're wanting to move up a level, to progress up the career ladder, or maybe move organizations and try something new. Perhaps you find yourself in the job market and you've been made redundant, and that is quite saturated at the moment. So it's really important to think about how you can stand out from all of the noise. Perhaps you're thinking about pivoting your career. You want to do something different and you're mulling that over and you're playing with ideas. So my invitation to you today is to think about, where do you want to be in, let's say, the next 6 to 12 months? And what does that mean for you? What will be the biggest challenge for you in terms of getting there? And just to reiterate on the points that I have shared with you today, what can you do that was within your control, that you can influence, that can help you to get to where you want to be in 6 or 12 months' time? So let's say you are looking to change job. What do you need to do right now to show up in the best possible way that will increase your chances of securing a new role or a promotion, maybe in the same organization? And the points that I'm showing today, there's 5 of them. The first one is clarity. So thinking about where you want to be, and then what needs to happen for you to get there. And in terms of the things that need to happen, what of those things are in your control? What is it that you can do to make a difference? Then look at your mindset. You want to develop a growth mindset, and this is an ongoing process. The book I mentioned, Carol Dweck, she talks about fixed versus a growth mindset. So you might want to check that out. And here it's about becoming more aware of the thoughts you're having, the feelings, the actions that you're taking, and what can you do differently? What can you do better that's going to help you to move forward? An example of this is, do you look at situations as problems or do you look at them as opportunities? That in itself will give you an idea of how open you are to possibilities, to opportunities, and whether you're more in a fixed or a growth mindset. Then presence, having an impact when you show up. Most of us right now are showing up online. So how are you working on developing a powerful presence when you show up? Because it's very easy to hide when we're on, for example, online calls like Zoom or Teams. So let me know, is this something you're having to do a lot? And what are you doing to be more present with people, but also to have more presence? What are you struggling with? And then communication. So when we're online, it's much, much harder to keep people engaged. So if you're presenting, if you're in a meeting, it's hard enough when you're in a room in front of people to be able to keep that engagement focused with you. So how do you do it online? What are you doing to maintain that engagement? Think about what you can do when you're presenting or when you're speaking up in the meeting that keeps people fully focused on you and wanting to hear more, rather than maybe going off and checking their emails or scrolling through their phone, waiting for it all to end so they can go do something else. Checking in with them, asking questions, varying your tonality, maintaining the eye contact, which is part of your presence because that creates the connection. So these are all really important things that you can be doing and developing and mastering, so that you're developing a stronger personal brand, which will make it easier to create that shift and that change that you've identified earlier on based on the challenges that you're facing right now in your career in the workplace. Liz, hello. How are you? Lovely to have you here. Thank you for joining and hopping on. Let me know if any of this resonates with you, and what if any are your biggest challenges right now when it comes to your career, your business, your situation in the workplace, the remote working. How is that impacting you, and where would you like to be in the next 6 to 12 months time, and what is in your control that you can do differently over the coming months? And finally, point 5 that I'd like to share with you today is all about relationships. And I talk about this a lot, and because I believe it's so important. And as to Brad's comment earlier, this is one of the fundamental things that we can really be developing and nurturing during this pandemic when we're working remotely and we're in a lockdown situation, as we are here in the UK right now. So optimizing your network. This is really important. So if you've identified this is where you are today, this is my challenge right now, this is where I want to be in, let's say, 12 months. What do I need to do differently? What needs to happen for me to get there, and what needs to change? And the biggest thing you can do here is to nurture existing relationships of people that matter, people that are relevant to you, people that are in your community, in your network, your peer group, your team. Those are the relationships that make all the difference when it comes to people having that perception of us and then talking about us in a positive way. And also thinking about cultivating new relationships. So if, for example, you're considering pivoting your career to something new and you're not really sure where to start, maybe if you don't have someone in your network who's doing something similar, identify someone who's doing a role similar to what you would love to do, reach out to them and invite them to have a conversation with you. It could be a 10-minute conversation. You don't have to take up loads of time if the person's really busy. And just explain to them that, I'm thinking about moving from this career to that career, or job rather, role. And, I'd like to have some insights into what it involves, what your day-to-day looks like. Think about what you'd really want to know about that. A great reason to reach out to people that maybe you've never spoken to before. Let me know in the comments, is this useful? Are you doing some of these things already? I know, Brad, you said that you are. And what are the challenges right now that you have in terms of your career, and where do you see yourself in the next 6 to 12 months? those are some of the things I'd really like you to consider today, and be aware that what we focus on, we will receive more of, we will experience more of. So focusing on the opportunities, focusing on the possibilities, focusing on what we want rather than what we don't want. So the positive rather than the negative. And start creating a plan of some sort. It doesn't have to be long and lengthy and detailed. It can be a couple of things that are helping you to think about where you want to be in the next 6 to 12 months. And then being honest with yourself and saying, okay, if this is where I want to be, what do I need to do to get there? Now, of course, there are all those external factors that we know actually are outside of our control. There's not a lot we can do, but we can potentially influence them by following the 5 things I've mentioned today. So before I do that, just wrap up with that, let me just pop in and say, let's see the comments. Such great points on relationships. Thank you, Liz. And let me know what stood out for you, what you're already doing, what you think, oh, actually, I could do that differently. Whether it is in relation to your relationships and cultivating, nurturing relationships, whether it's about your mindset, or maybe about your communication, how it can be more engaging when we're on our Zoom calls, our team calls behind a camera, because it is a lot harder to maintain engagement this way. If you've just joined, let me know where you're listening in from, and also what questions you have if you found this useful. And so just to wrap up, I will go back through those 5 points I invite you to consider when it comes to taking control of your career and where you're heading in these uncertain times when there is so much else going on around us that is causing stress, is creating challenges for us, a huge uncertainty. Human behavior dictates that we tend to want some certainty in our life. And right now we don't have a lot of that. And that's why for me, these things are so important that I'm sharing today, because these are things that they're steps that we can take to feel that we are in control by taking responsibility for some of those actions. Because would you agree with me that a lot of things right now are outside of control, which means that we don't know what the next 6 or 12 months is going to look like. So tell me, what is it that you can do that has you feeling that control, that feels that you can take actions that are down to you, that will help you to move forward, and also influence the people around you that are the decision makers, perhaps the ones that are looking to hire people, to promote them, maybe to look at the bonuses, the pay rises later in the year. So what is it you can do over the next 6 to 12 months to make that difference? I see some comments coming through. Let's have a look. Brad, challenge for me is being selective and focusing on the roles and opportunities and not getting distracted. Focus is so important. That's key. So thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, being selective. And this is a thing, you know, when you are looking at roles, when you're looking at opportunities, interviews and the selection process, it's a two-way process. So never feel that a company is doing you a favor by calling you for interview and offering you a job, because it's got to be something you want. It's got to be the right fit for you as well. So remember to have that dialogue with the organization, with the recruitment consultant, to understand and make sure that it's going to be a good fit for you, because you would have done, I'm sure, your due diligence beforehand, and also being clear on what it is you want, what that next step needs to look like. So then, as Brad says, by the challenge is being selective and focusing on the right roles and opportunities and not getting distracted, because it's very easy, as we all know, to get distracted by shiny new objects. Would you agree? I'm seeing a lot of roles that I can do but don't interest me, and remaining patient as the roles you want will come. So true. And Brad, I know you are absolutely focused right now on what it is you want. You're clear on what you want, and you're being patient about looking at and focusing, as you said, on those right opportunities rather than jumping at everything. There's a lot of jobs out there, a lot of jobs being advertised. We could be applying to, 20, 30 a day if we wanted, but at the same time, are they the right roles? Is it the right company, the culture that you're looking to work in? So being selective and focusing is really important. Thanks, Brad, for sharing that. And Liz, stand out, reaching out to others, doing what you want to do and where they want to be. So getting their insights. Great point, Liz. Thank you for that. And actually, I was speaking to a friend yesterday who, that was a question she asked me. In fact, we were talking about LinkedIn Lives, and she's thinking about doing them. So she asked me, what insights have you gained from doing the lives? And she made the point that a lot of people don't ask that. What are your learnings? What are your insights from what you're doing? What can I learn from you? And remember, people do like to share. They do like to help. So if you feel, for example, that you are maybe looking to do something that other people are doing, or maybe to change role, you reach out to other people and ask them, so what are their insights? What can I learn from you about what you're doing? Or what are the challenges? What are the skills that you think are most important for me to have or to develop on to do well in such a role? So thank you, Liz. Great points there. Thank you for sharing. And I do hope this has been useful for you today. I'm going to give it a couple more seconds because I know there is a time delay with comments coming through. You guys have been very quiet today. Why are you so shy? Come on, ask me some questions and share some comments. Let me know if this has been helpful. And also, if you've got any topics or suggestions for things you'd like me to talk about in the next couple of weeks on the shows, let me know, and I'd be more than happy to do that. Anything around personal branding, any career challenges you're having, and how I'm able to give some advice around that, do let me know, whether you want to share it here in the comments or direct message me, and that will give me some ideas of what you want to hear. I'm basing at the moment the content I'm sharing on conversations that I'm having day to day with my clients and with my prospects, and what I'm also hearing in the market. So if there's something specific you'd like me to share here and talk about in more depth, do drop me a message or comment here and let me know, and then I can include that on one of the next shows. So let's see, anything else? Not seeing any more comments coming in. Okay, so I'd like to thank you very much for joining me here today, whether you're live here or on the replay. Thank you guys for your comments. And I do hope you found this useful. If you have any questions on anything that I have shared and you've not popped them in the comments, do direct message me if you prefer, and I'll be happy to have a conversation with you. So until next week, next Tuesday, 12 o'clock, same time, same place, I look forward to seeing you then. Have a fantastic rest of the week. And as I said, do reach out if you have any questions that I can assist with. Take care until next time.